people who have been beneficiaries of the reconciling ministry of our Lord Jesus Christ. And that is why Jesus, in his statements, and that is in two of them, first one in John chapter 17, verses 14 to 21, and John 20, 21. He used this word, as the Father sent me, so have I sent you. He was sent as the Father's ambassador. Remember, people in Jesus' days, including even the disciples, they were asking questions about who God is. They were struggling to understand who God is. And so Jesus explained in words to them, but also in his nature and his character, he displayed who God was. And that's what John chapter 1 verse 14 tells us, that Jesus came into this world and dwelt among us, and he revealed the glory of the Father. And so there was no question. I remember even when Philip was asking, show us the Father, Jesus said, I have been with you all this while. And how are you saying that we should show you the Father? Because I have been here physically representing the nature and the character and demonstrating the power of this God. And then if he says, as the Father sent me, so I am sending you, then we can understand that it's a very important aspect of being his ambassadors, that we represent him not only in the things we say, but in the character we also display, to the point that nobody will be a doubt about who we are. Then the other thing too, that being ambassadors of Christ reflects or means to us is that anywhere we are, we are carrying the attributes and the values of heaven. Anywhere. You see, if you watch the ambassadors, that is the earthly ambassadors, when they are moving, their car carries the insignia of their country. And if they are speaking somewhere, there's something that they have to use to represent the identity that they carry. And they're very conscious of that. You can't find them doing all the other things that other people do. Other citizens of a country in another country can behave anyhow, but not the ambassador. You don't see the ambassador in certain circles. They behave, they carry themselves with dignity. And the same way too, we are supposed to represent Christ. Their presence also brings enlightenment. The presence of the ambassadors, wherever they go, it brings out an enlightenment or a revelation about who they are and where they are coming from. In the same way, Jesus says that we are the light of the world. And he said in his own cases, as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. And so he said we are the light of the world. And we know what light does. And he said that you cannot light a lantern, and then put it or hide it under a cover. He said that we should therefore let our light shine before men, so they may see our work our attitudes, our actions, they might see it and then give glory to our Father who is in heaven. And so, apart from being sent as the Father has sent Jesus, and we have a lot of information about how Jesus lived out his life, and Jesus did not deny his identity. He always talked about where he came from and why he has come, his purpose of coming and where he has come from. The same way we must live with this consciousness that as long as we are in this world, and remember we are talking about believers, those who believe in Jesus Christ, because what characterizes us as people who believe in the Lord Jesus Christ is that it has changed our nature. It has changed our identity. It has changed our behavior. We are new creation. And it's not only that we will share, we talk about it. If you hear where the ambassadors are talking about their nation, you will be very, very excited. In fact, some of them are the ones who will make people to feel that they want to relocate and go to those countries because of the way the ambassadors have presented their countries. That is how we should talk about heaven, about what God has done for us through Jesus Christ, so that everybody will desire to belong, to be a citizen of that. Check it. Why is it that many people want to find their way to America? Is it because people see some things that are good about America? And this is how we should be talking and sharing about heaven and about what Jesus has done for us. Yeah, we have had the testimonies like our brother shared with us. Yeah, and this is also understanding one of the ways that God also sends us as his ambassadors. It's not this tendency today and the trend of jackbuying. People want to live, but not with that understanding that God is sending them and they are going to be God's ambassadors in those places. So the diaspora phenomenon is also a way that God uses to send us, but it is sending us to become his ambassadors wherever we go. You know, in Jeremiah chapter 29, when the Lord was telling the children of Israel that he was carrying them into captivity to Babylon, the Lord took responsibility to say, I am the one that is carrying you to that place. Remember, it was also a matter of controversy between Jeremiah and the prophets of those days. You know, some prophets were saying, no, it cannot happen. And they were preaching their own prophecy, and they even fought Jeremiah. They even sent him to the dungeon because he was saying what God was saying. He was defining God's purpose, which eventually clarified in Jeremiah chapter 9 and 29 from verse 4, where he said, God said that when you go to the place where I am carrying you to, I am the one carrying you to Babylon. He said, do this, do this, do this, do this, because I have a plan for you after it. Remember one of the things that God said to Jeremiah during that period? He said they were going to this captivity and it's going to last for 70 years. But after 70 years, they will come back. And one of the things that the Lord told him, at the time they were about to be carried away, God said to him, your uncle is going to bring land for you. Buy it. Because after 70 years, there will still be the buying and selling of land here. So you can imagine that time is not a time for people to ordinarily think of buying land, making investments. But because it was something that was in the will of God. And then God also told them, when you go into that captivity, don't diminish. He said, build houses, marry for your children, and give your children to marriage. Let them multiply, let them not diminish. Because I have a plan for you. So God has a plan for us too, and that plan includes even sending us to a particular place. And as ambassadors, because if you're an ambassador, wherever you are at a given moment, within that period, you are representing the person who has appointed you. You carry the honor and the privileges. But then we should also be mindful of the purpose. So when it comes to even going on this diaspora dimension of it, that we also know that it is not for fun alone, that God has a purpose, and that is that the gospel might be preached into those places. And these days, we are also discovering that with the gifts and the talents and the treasures that the Lord has given unto us, that we can fulfill the purposes of the kingdom. We become ambassadors of Christ using those skills and tools that God has blessed us with. And we're not going to hide them. We're not going to conceal them. Then being ambassadors too, as we hear and as we experience, means too that wherever we are as believers, people should identify who we are. It should not be something that people will begin to imagine. And I have not seen any ambassador that goes about saying, do you know I'm the ambassador of this place, I'm the ambassador of this place. They don't introduce themselves that way. But the way they carry themselves and the things they do are the things that testify to them. In 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 2 and 3, Paul was writing to the Corinthian believers, and you said, you are the epistles that we have written, not with hand, not with pen. Your life, your conduct is the epistle. It's something that speaks about heaven. So that you don't even need to go about and introduce and say, you know, I'm born again, I'm born again. Let people see it in your character. Let people see it in your behavior. Let people see it in the things you do. Because even the world also knows the characteristics of believers. That's why at times they are the ones who will judge us and say, this thing you are doing, and you call yourself a believer. Because they know how a believer should behave. And that's another way that we become ambassadors of Jesus. Paul said, we are the epistle that people will reach. I don't know, okay, I've shared this testimony in different forums. But maybe some of you may be hearing it up to how many times you would have listened to me, but for others, let me see repeat it. You know, when our landlord, that time we were living at New Bodija here, and I was given a car, and I brought the car to where we were living. My landlord was living at the first floor, and we were living down. So when he saw me drive that car into the compound, he came to congratulate me and then asked me how much I bought it. I said it was given to me. He didn't believe it. So it was on a Sunday. Then by Wednesday, he wrote me and said he had increased my rent 3 times. And then I said, sir, I don't have the money to pay that. He said, okay, that if I don't want, I should go and look for another house. I started looking for a house, and anything I got that time was higher than what we were paying. So I was more or less stranded until God sent rescue to me. The first rescue was a missionary family that we were praying together, and they knew about this thing. And then the Lord worked it that the man was appointed the president of their organization in the US. And he had just come back from the follow that they had gone to. And the man now said he was leaving 2 weeks from that day. And that was just about maybe 3 or 4 days before my rent in this other place was due, and I wasn't going to find money to pay what the landlord was asking me to pay. So he now asked me to go and take over where he was living. You know, Oyibo people, a duplex, well furnished. And because they were living in a hurry, most of the things